you were in an interesting position because when everyone thinks of that time, you think Nirvana, Pearl Jam, Soundgarden, pretty much. All knowing each other, all friends in the same community and area. And you guys were such an important band for popularizing alternative rock in the mainstream. But you were almost on your own island because you were from Chicago. You weren't part of that whole grunge movement, but still equally important for alternative rock. What were your thoughts about Kurt, Nirvana? Were you friends with them? Were you fans of them? Were you hating on it? Like, what was your opinion of them at the time?
I thought Kurt was amazing. I mean, he was so talented. You were just like jealous of the talent. You're like, who gets that much talent in one wee body? And I was talking to somebody today about seeing when they came through town on Bleach, Cabaret Metro, somewhere 1990, maybe it was 89 even. And 500 people in the crowd, not even sold out. And the minute he opened his mouth, you're like, well, I can't sing like that. Jeez, that voice, which everybody knows, incredible, just incredible. And you knew he could write songs. And he seemed to be cluing into the vibe of the times, that kind of disassociative ADD, onomatopoeia. Even if you look like the Teen Spirit lyrics, it's a bit ADD, Ritalin kids. Like, he's a super smart guy. So he's dumbing it down kind of as a wink, but he's also targeting the thing he's after. Like, he's making a statement. No, I thought the band was fantastic. Obviously, Grohl, super talented. Chris Novoselic, I thought, was a great bass player. I loved what he played. The problem was, and it wasn't a musical problem, because we played very differently and we were different bands. And we only did the one gig with Nirvana, Bullet La Volta, Smashing Pumpkins, Nirvana, somewhere in Boston, 91, 92. Not even sold out. 700 people, 800 people. There was a playoff game across the street, so everybody was at the playoff game. And, there's some future rock stars on stage. And such different bands, like after different things. I'm a little bit more meta. Kurt was a little bit more kind of in your grill about like what really matters, like life. The problem was his wife or future wife was my ex-girlfriend. And that created an immediate riff. So add that with the fact that he's smart enough to understand that my band is probably one of the only bands that has any chance of even challenging his kingship. And that stuff does matter when you get down in the trenches of like who's playing who's playing where on the bill and who's getting paid what. And, even if you look at Kurt's, last will and testament and the letter that he left, he talks about it's better to burn out and fade away. We were all very affected by what the business was doing to us. I don't want to say that's why he took his own life, but he chose to talk about it in his last words on earth. It almost did my head in. So when you add the kind of the weird mixture of you're playing for different teams, and oh, by the way, the one thing we do share is a point of contention, that was difficult to navigate. The nice thing, and I've rarely talked about it, and I probably only talk about it with you, is towards the end of his life, obviously I had no idea he was going to go. We kind of made this weird peace where it seemed whatever that was seemed to go away, and it was a very nice and friendly. It's not saying we sat there and talked about the moon and the stars, but it went from I'm not sure I like you, and I know you definitely don't like me, to like, how you doing? Is everything cool? Yeah, we're good. Talk about the baby. It was. We reached that point where it was like a professional.
It was cordial.
Yes, and there were even times where she'd want me to call the house to talk to her about something, and of course Kurt would pick up the phone, and we'd have a couple minute like, "How you doing? You good? Yeah, it's all good." Like, I'm not saying we were BFF. I would never say that because I've seen plenty of other people do that weren't BFF, and I know the inside story more than most people know. But we got to that point. And I've said it a few times. The day I think I was in, I know I was in like Baton Rouge, Louisiana or something. We were playing someplace that night, and the phone rang at whenever it happened, and it was my manager at the time, and he said, Kurt's dead. And I wept. I wept. And I'm not a crier. I wept openly because you measure yourself against the best. That's what you should do if you really want to know life and you really want to. I played sports as a kid. It's like winning doesn't mean anything if you're not playing the best. I wanted to fight the best. I don't mean fight like this. Just like you got a song, I got a song. You do that really well. Yeah, well, we do this other thing really well that you can't do. It's that's the positive side of competition. We're all competing for the same spot, number one, right? And don't forget, even on that, what was the bill that never happened? It was supposed to be for Lollapalooza. It was going to be Nirvana, Pumpkins, Beastie Boys.
Wow.
And they dropped out. So then we slotted down and became the headliner. But just look at that bill.
Yeah.
And look, it's easy to play, Monday morning quarterback. And it was the most successful Lollapalooza, at least the traveling version,
right,
that year without them. So imagine what would have been with them. And I would have welcomed the challenge every night to try to blow them off the stage. And I know he would have tried to blow me off the stage every night. But we were friendly enough that it wouldn't have been dickish.
Right.
But that's what you should do. So we had that like, okay, you're pretty good at what you do. And, and as you know, with the Pumpkins, we're so asymmetrical that we're not comparable in the sense of like, he writes a really good teen anthem and I write a really good teen anthem. Because the Pumpkins were just as likely to play like a 27-minute jam,
right?
About the end of the world. Yeah. So we're coming at you from a lot of different
angles. Yeah.
But no, back to the original spirit of your question. Amazing, amazing band, amazing artist. And it's a shame we don't have 800 more songs from him because they all would have been good because he didn't write bad songs. And by the way, he writes really great songs and then he's got that voice.
Yes.
And that vision.
And he was also gorgeous. Like it was just like a weird planets aligning.
No, I used to say to Courtney, it's like he's the quarterback, right?
Right.
Like I remember being at my locker and watching the quarterback walk by and all the girls would look at the quarterback as he walked by. That was Kurt. And by the way, and I was in plenty of social situations. So even whether we were unfriendly and then became friendly, I watched it no matter where I was on the arc. Wherever he went, all the girls would go. And the guys would like, kind of like.
They adjust themselves.
No, they try to turn into Kurt somehow.
Yeah.
Like suddenly they started like standing like him and.
Yeah.
I don't know. And he's one of one. There's no copying Kurt.
Thank you for sharing all of that. Yeah, that is pretty powerful.
Listen, I in a selfish way, I love extolling the virtue of great artists. We talked about David, and now we're talking about Kurt. I talk about Kurt for an hour. He was amazing. He was amazing. He changed the world. He made it possible so that we could sell a gazillion records like they did. You can't, like, that's what I mean about respect. You have to give that respect. You have to say, that guy got it done. And there were plenty of bands before them that could have gotten it done. Jane's among them.
Yes.
And there were certainly signs of life. But he kicked that door open and it stayed open. It wasn't like the 1 year and then it closed. He changed it all. I mean, and it's still. And you go to right there. And the only other moment you can point to is like Dylan, as far as rock to me, Dylan in 63?
Right.
Where suddenly the Beatles now they're trying to write like Bob Dylan and all. Like, so Dylan around 63, 64, and Kurt in 90, 91. For me, that's the two defining moments of the music that I understand.
Smells Like Teen Spirit was Elvis, the song for me. And Elvis.
Can't leave Elvis. Right. But to me, it's like saying, oh, and there's the sun.
Right. Exactly.
Let's not forget about the sun.
Yeah, I mean, that's literally.
Without the sun, we'd all be dead.
Right. That's true.
Elvis is the progenitor. So Elvis, Dylan,
Kurt, you're absolutely right.
I all my issues aside, all my ego aside, you got to call that. I wish I would go, and then there's me. But I don't put myself in that. You understand?